and welcome to a brand new edition of the Red Mountain Express podcast. I'm Blake Westbrook.
I'm Patrick Tucker.
I'm Matthew Joyner.
JD is out gigging tonight, making money, supporting his family.
Doing what he loves.
I mean, we don't pay him to come here, so when he gets a paying gig, I understand.
I don't blame him one bit.
How much do we have to pay JD to start appearing on our show?
Like $20.
All right, dude, I think we could probably do that.
Technically, we pay in to come to the show.
We buy him a drink. We give him a couple of dollars.
I think he plays for beer. So,
well, we miss him.
We do.
I think he's at Saul's Juke Joint.
That's always your guess. So
it's always my guess.
I don't know where he is.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, we'll find out next time I see him. But we do have a special guest on the show, Rylie Hightower, who is the owner, operator, and mate of the bar here at the Lumbar. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Doing
good.
Awesome.
Good to be here as always.
Yeah.
You've been on the show twice.
Only once.
Only once. Okay, we've never been on the show together, so
We
this
have
is
not.
a treat.
Yeah, you were MIA. The
Is it
last
really
time
That's
I
how
was
it
here.
is it
was.
really a treat with you?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
Okay.
Right?
But
Debatable.
I will say this makes you our most frequent guest, though, because we've never had anyone on more than once.
Fair.
I'm honored,
Yeah.
considering
You're a
you
first
guys are
repeat.
some of our most frequented patrons. So
And I actually reserved the incubator.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
I did.
Finally,
Yeah.
for once.
Every now and then I'll be walking out of work and I'm like, oh, I need to do that because I think one time we walked in and people were having a party in here. Like, well, we're going to record over here, but it turned out fine. It turned out great.
I usually try to reserve it when I remember. I've got it on my personal calendar that you guys are here every Thursday, but but I guess that might not transition over to the incubator calendar all the time.
That's okay.
Hey, I'm flattered that you remember us. We really appreciate it.
Always.
So y'all got some new things going on here, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a few things kicking off. So in the next month or so, we'll be transitioning from the current Cantina pop-up operation to our own food menu. And we're going to be launching some new cocktails in the next couple weeks. Actually, a few new cocktail menus over the next couple of weeks. And some, fun new experiments that we've been kind of planning on and training on. So we've got a lot coming up.
Awesome. So, yeah, we saw you having some pictures taken of some cocktails last week.
Yeah,
And
that was us.
then tonight when me and Blake came in, you were at the bar working on the drink menu.
Wait. What are you eating? What is this?
I just got.
All right, wait.
They just dropped off the
Obviously, we don't have video.
truck fries. I always want to call them the truck stop fries. Is that appropriate? Is that acceptable?
As long as they're delicious, like they usually are, I don't think they care what you call
They
them.
look amazing. It's like chicken, some pico de gallo, and some queso on top of a bunch of French fries. It's
Smells
super
like
healthy.
Really good. Healthy.
I
heart
did
attack.
it wrong. I stopped at Nuke's and got a salad, and I should have come here and gotten the truck fries.
You absolutely
that
did
was
it wrong.
that was
My
bad
2-year-old
choice.
ate my chicken
Yeah.
salad sandwich today, so
You're welcome to some of the
All right,
fries.
we've definitely gotten sidetracked.
sorry.
here.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Sorry. Food was there.
I
But
was
anyway.
talking about the drink menu that you said that you were working on. So, all right, we've got you here. You're held hostage. If we put you on the spot and ask you to tease one thing off the drink menu, would you do it?
Absolutely.
All
So
right. You don't have to really describe the drink if you don't
man,
want to.
Don't give her. Just let her do it. Maybe she'll get.
She was there.
She was there.
we have a couple featured house cocktails right now that we kind of started with, but our staff is trained to really make anything. So any classic cocktail you can think of, we can whip you up. So a lot of our drink menus moving forward are going to be a blend of classic cocktails, but a lot of what we're calling experiments. Our staff is going to be able to kind of come in and participate in making new cocktails, bringing new recipes to the table. And, we go through and we judge those and we rank those and we taste test those and we make sure that they're 10 out of 10 before they go on the menu. And so those are kind of our experiments, and we're going to be launching a bunch of those in the over the next few weeks and probably for the foreseeable future. And so one of the cocktails that's coming up that we've got on our menu is called the Parallax. Parallax is the physical phenomenon where something looks different depending on what angle you look at it from. So it actually looks different from different angles.
Like
so
my
there's
face.
kind of exactly. You have a good side and a bad side. I think I'm on your bad side.
You're on my bad side.
Yeah.
Me too, though, right?
But there's kind of a hint to what kind of cocktails might be coming on the menu called the Parallax. Looks different depending on what angle you look at it from.
That's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
I think it's a really cool idea, too. I mean, seeing as this is a science-themed bar, that you would allow your bartenders to experiment and just see what kind of
Of course.
plays out. Like
Of
you can
course.
test your hypothesis. I definitely did not say that word right. Test your hypothesis on your customers
Exactly.
and see what they like. Can they give you do they get to rank them too? Can you be like, how did you like this cocktail?
You know, we could probably throw that in there.
And, like,
Some
Put it in a
self-reporting
in a spreadsheet.
Right, yeah, rank them 1 to 10, exactly. We can bring back the fan favorites at some point. That's a good idea.
Y'all are
Sounds-
giving this girl more work. I mean,
She's like,
I will
I'm
have to come up
definitely
with a
not
lot of
doing that.
spreadsheets, and there'll be a lot of tallying up votes, so, you know. But maybe I'll have to do it on a Thursday while you're here.
That'll work.
That'll work.
I think Matt would help do with the spreadsheets. He's kind of a spreadsheet oriented guy.
There you go.
Look
I
at
have
him,
a
he
thing
knows
with-
he is.
I like data. Okay.
Hey, I'm a data gal. That's my
look,
gig.
Nothing wrong with some good data. It's How about that?
Okay, I'll take it. Well, shifting from one experience to other. So, Patrick came in today and he told us he was selling Porsches, but no, that's not the case. Tell
not the
everybody
case.
what you did today.
So today I got to do the Porsche driving experience out at Barber Motorsports Park, which is, first of all, it's a beautiful place. If you've never been there, go check it out. I mean, the campus is, they call it the Augusta of motorsports. I mean, it is the premier racetrack, probably in the country.
I went to that's last year's events and it was fantastic.
It's really, really amazing. But they do this driving school out there, and they put you in Porsches. They do these, the 911 Turbo S.
And I love how you call it a Porsche now.
Porsche, yeah.
Since you've driven one, you get to call it
Once
That's
you've
right.
been in a Porsche, it's no longer a Porsche.
Right.
To me and you, it's still a Porsche.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
So they do this launch thing. Like this car has a 0 to 60 time of 2.8 seconds, and they basically rev it up, launch you, and then stop really fast. It pulled 1.24 G's as you're stopping. It was pretty awesome. They basically said that the only other cars that can get to 0 to 60 faster, you have to do it all electric, like a super fancy Tesla, or basically you have to spend over $1 million to get a car. And this is just a factory production car.
Well, now since you're calling things Porsche, are you going to spend $1 million on a new car?
If somebody gives it to me and says that I can only spend it on that, and maybe.
Did you go around the track, or was it just the?
So we did. They take you through a couple of things. They do this. I forgot what they called it, but it's like this little mini race course, that they set up, and you're driving. I mean, you're driving hard. This car.
Oh, you got to drive.
Oh yeah. So the first one, they took you through they just call it the launch thing. So they do the launch. They do another one with the Panamera. It's the 4-door hybrid thing. They did a launch in that too. That was pretty awesome. But you got to drive that, switch lanes and do some sort of agility stuff just to kind of get you used to the feel of the car. And then you got to do a course. They do the course and they had 3 different seats. So the first time I was following the professional driver in front of me, one of the instructors, and I had another driver behind me that had an instructor in their car. This is too long, I know, but I'll wrap it up. So you go around the course, and they basically, as you're going around, they're giving you pointers, all right, they've got it set up with different cones or whatever. So it's brake here, gas here, turn here. It's a lot of fun. You're not really going that fast. You're going maybe 50 miles an hour if you even get up that fast.
Now, what percentage of in your mind were I'm going to wreck this car?
I never really felt like I was going to wreck.
So you felt like you were doing go-karts at this point?
It feels like really, really fast go-karts. It does. If you've ever done the electric go-karts out at Autobahn or anything like that,
Yeah.
It really feels like that. It's just so much power and so quick. So it was a ton of fun. They take you out to a little skid pad and teach you about oversteer and understeer, and you get to spin out and do all this fun stuff. So, and then at the end, you had a little competition. So it was. Oh, and then at the very end, they took us on hot laps around the real, actual, full track. It's insane. We didn't get to drive that, but we got to ride. And you're holding on for dear life. It's physically pretty exhausting. You're bracing yourself as you're going through, pulling these fast turns, slowing down. The course is very up and down, so there's a lot of dropping into a hard turn. It was a heck of a lot of fun. I can say if you ever have a chance to take your corporate team out there, or if anybody's like sponsoring an event and you get the opportunity to go. It's so much fun.
Have you been out there, Rylie?
Oh, yeah. So I actually live out in Irondale. And one Saturday last spring, I'm woken up really early by this noise. And, you know, my dad's already up and had already mowed the lawn and all the good stuff because he's old. And, you know, we go outside and he's like, man, these cicadas are loud today. And I'm like, what is the deal with the cicadas? And, it's that buzzing noise. Holy smokes. It was the cars. It was actually the Indy race weekend. And so it was Saturday morning and they were all out on the track and realized how close I lived to that track. Ended up getting to go. Outstanding. I've never seen a real true IndyCar track before. And that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had with racing. I did get to go to Talladega when I first moved here. And
Now, were you in the infield or were you in the stands?
Oh, I was in the stands.
Okay.
Yeah. I did get taken into the infield. I didn't have a ticket. I was kind of snuck into the infield, so I had to get snuck back out of the infield. But yeah, so both of those experiences were pretty great. But I live very close to there and found out very early on a Saturday morning. So
That's crazy.
Now,
That's awesome.
was that experience better or worse than Bryant-Denny Stadium watching New Mexico State?
I am an Aggie through and through. I don't care how many points we lose by. I will watch those games with all of my soul. I loved the game last Saturday. Bryant-Denny Stadium is just it's something that you have never experienced before in your life if you're from anywhere in the Southwest like I am. I guess Texas has stadiums that big, but I've never been to one. So, yeah, not that big of a deal. Texas is that's its own thing. But that was pretty incredible to actually get to see my college team,
I was gonna say that.
who normally has roughly 10,000 fans a game, get to play in Bryant-Denny. That was pretty dream come true right there.
It didn't dawn on me until I think I saw a picture on social media. I was like, oh, that's right. And so you went there. Did you have some friends come up and watch the game?
My sister flew in. My dad was here. A bunch of his friends flew in. We had an entire alumni tailgate. I was actually surprised at the number of New Mexico State fans that actually flew in or drove in for the game. But, I mean, we as fans never would get to experience something like this in a stadium like this ever. So, I mean, it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime deal, and I enjoyed getting to hang out with all the other Aggie fans that actually enjoyed getting creamed because we scored 10 points, and that is okay. That's right. That's a win in my book right there.
I was at the game as well, and so I'm just glad to see that you survived because it was very, very hot.
Sweltering.
It was very hot.
Yeah, 110-degree heat index, I think.
It was a lot of fun.
Wait. You were in the zone, weren't you?
We had stadium club passes, so it was still hot when we were outside.
Okay, so you were not at the same level as the rest of us. Okay.
Oh, it looks so hot out there.
Mr. Porsche over here.
Those poor people. They will get my Porsche and drive home.
They had those digital thermometers in the zone to show you like what it is for the peasants.
Right, yeah.
My parents went. They sat in a box. So, I mean, I get, they were like, oh, we're sitting in the box with one of Mom's friends. I'm like, you know what? That's not fair. I'm using the nosebleeds every time I go. So
yeah, so Wesley and I don't think I would have taken Wesley had we not had stadium club passes just because it was so hot, but it actually worked out really well. We had a great time. This was his first Alabama game. My wife accidentally said to my mom it was his first real football game. My son has been to many UAB games, so sorry I'm calling her out on that one, but no, he had a great time.
I thought you were going to say
awesome.
He's been to many Tennessee games.
Oh no.
Ooh.
Hey, we'll find out later this year which one's better, UAB or Tennessee.
Yeah.
I'll hold my tongue.
And you know what?
I would put money on UAB right now.
I would too.
New Mexico State plays UAB next year. So
Is it here in town?
It is. Here.
Man,
That's awesome.
I know.
Just every year.
So we've got Tennessee games on the map. We've got New Mexico State games on the map.
Not too bad, is it?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Well, let's take a little break and let's munch on Patrick's food over here, and then
so good.
We'll come back with the second half of the show. Beecham Woodworks is a locally owned and operated wood shop in Birmingham, Alabama, specializing in custom furniture and small home goods. Chris and Kanan Beecham create a wide variety of unique pieces of all sizes, ranging from cutting boards to farmhouse tables. Using wood sourced from Alabama sawmills, Beecham Woodworks creates affordable, quality pieces that will be a one-of-a-kind fixture for your home. So support your local woodworker and visit redmountainexpress.com/woodworks or check them out on their Facebook and Instagram accounts. Beecham Woodworks, turning your house into a home. And welcome back to the second half of the Red Mountain Express. Good to have Rylie on. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah.
Our first repeat guest.
Exactly.
Yes,
Our most frequent guest. Yeah. Come check them out here over at Pepper Place. They do a really good job. They always are very welcoming to us, and they have some of the greatest drinks in town. So come see them. And great food because, Patrick just came over here and just ate a whole basket of fries with a chicken on top of it.
Yeah, we went to break,
Thanks
and
for calling me out on
I
that.
tried to bite of that. God, that was good.
Well, we ate some too. Don't feel
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, you guys definitely ate
Yeah.
some.
So check them out. They're over here in Pepper Place, and like I said, they're great folks. We always enjoy recording over here in their incubator room. So let's get some news that you can use or lose.
We talk about food a lot on this show.
It could be a food podcast.
It could be,
Yeah.
but it's not. But unfortunately, we have some restaurant closings that have happened lately.
Yeah, I got 3 of them on here.
Yeah, there's
more than that.
Several. I saw an article, I think it was on AL.com, but I could be wrong, with a list of restaurant closings. The ones you pointed out, though, I think probably some of the more significant ones that are more like local things instead of chains.
Yeah.
The ones that were changed were like Johnny Rockets at the Summit. I think Zoe's at the
did
Summit
see
also closed. So
That closed a while ago, I think.
yeah, so and a lot of the other ones we've talked about already, like what's the burger plate, Farm Burger,
Yeah, yes.
and some of the other ones that I think we've already talked about. But the latest one here is Mafiosa's.
I love that place.
I've only been there once, but I thought it had a pretty good following. I think people liked it.
I think it did for a while.
Yeah.
Me and Blake were talking about this before the show started. The last few times I went in there, it was packed, but it was mostly packed with parents and a lot of kids, and the kids were like running around without any supervision.
That always happened when I was
But
there.
see, that seems pretty typical for like pizza kind of places to me.
But not Mafiosa. Mafiosa was like, at least on the outside or the inside, I guess what I'm trying to say is on the surface level, seemed more like upscale.
Yeah.
So you expect at least like a modicum of like sit at the table and.
Yeah,
Was it though? I mean, you bought it by the slice. I mean, it wasn't. You could
we
buy
bought
it by
whole
the slice.
pizzas,
Yeah,
like,
but
yeah.
I bought by the slice.
Well,
So cheap.
They had a really nice bar, and they
Yeah.
had
True,
like
yeah.
I mean really
it was
had
the
live
decor
music.
was a little
yeah.
nicer. But I mean, like if you go in Davenport's or like Johnny Brusco's out here in Vestavia, like that's what you get most
Yeah,
of the
that's a
times.
little bit
Kids running
different.
around playing
Yeah.
arcade games and
I will say this: my favorite thing to get there, besides the pizza, was they had these cheese fries with bacon on top, and they use steak fries for their cheese fries, and that is just fantastic.
they
But
do them in the pizza oven with the
No, I think they do, and they melt with cheese and bacon on top of it. It's fantastic. But
Doesn't
yeah,
sound
they
terrible.
close. There's 2 other locations. There's one in Nashville and one in Franklin, which is right outside of Nashville. And the building is actually a really big building. I mean, that's a lot of overhead. It's around, I think it's like 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's pretty solid for a restaurant. I mean, that's big.
That's big. So they're going to the kind of the conventional thinking, what the Mountain Brook City Council has approved is they're going to split that property into 2 pieces. One is going to be a
LAH.
real estate office, and the other one's going to be a restaurant, a farm to table. So
But we don't know much about that yet.
No,
the
we know
owner
it's-
just said it's going to be a farmer's market style cafe with lunch, dinner, and early brunch on Sundays. It'll be open in the spring of 2020.
I'm here for that.
It's in a good spot for it. I don't think the parking right there is great, but that's kind of the same for that area. Like, there's not really
Yeah.
great parking. in a
Nowhere
lot
in
of those buildings.
Crestline has
A lot
ever-
of folks walked there from
Yeah.
part of Mountain
exactly.
Brook. So
But yeah, it's in a very prominent spot though. It's pretty like nice spot to be in.
on Dexter and Crestline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hate that they closed. I really wish they'd open back up because I enjoyed it. On Tuesdays they had like buy one get one free night, which was even better.
Sounds good.
So yeah. So and Matthew, you mentioned 1st and 23rd was closed, correct?
Yeah, so I had seen a just a little blurb of an article earlier this week that mentioned it, but honestly, and I hate to say this, I didn't know what 1st and 23rd was until it was too late. Like, I found out they were closing the day I found out that it was a restaurant. So
And it was a piano bar,
it was
right?
a piano bar and restaurant. and that's about the extent of what I know about it.
It doesn't matter now anyway.
So they've closed, and the owner is looking to develop the space into like a new theme kind of restaurant. So from what I understand, he hasn't disclosed any details on what direction he's looking to go in. But the fact that they're looking to still put a restaurant in there, I think, is potentially good news.
Yeah. So that's fun. I do love a good piano bar. But I don't know. I don't really think of like Birmingham and piano bar. Like there used to be one.
Blue Monkey was a great piano bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it closed too.
Yeah.
That was on the list.
Man, that place was smoky though. When you could smoke in that place.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff right down there. What's the beer place?
Oh, J. Clyde closed.
J. Clyde closed as well. So
is the tamale place still open?
It's still open as far as I know. They were
Delta
still
Blues
hiring.
is still good. Yeah.
They had a post up on Reddit maybe 2 weeks ago looking for more employees.
I'm sorry, I can't help laughing. We all went there. It was not long after our my firstborn was born, and it wasn't a good experience. Correct? I mean,
I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
But I haven't given it another shot. I haven't gone back. I'm sure it's wonderful. I do know some people that really love that place.
I was about to say, without going into like the details of what was negative about your experience, I have heard of a lot of great experiences there. So
as have I.
Was it the gumbo one? Was that the one that
I don't know.
There was like a Cajun tamale that we had.
I don't remember.
That was actually pretty good. So
well, and then one other one, which is Mark's Joint in Homewood, which is. It was in the old Urban Cookhouse place, and I thought it was the same owners. Is that right? I think it was the same owners. I could be wrong.
Honestly, I have no idea.
Anyway, so there was a barbecue restaurant. It was on 18th Street in Homewood. It's an old Urban Cookhouse location, and that closed.
Opened in December.
It was just open like in December. So I guess that theme or that concept did not work out the way they hoped.
It doesn't help that you're 2 blocks away from Dimitri's, which has been in Homewood forever, and then you're right down the road from Saul's, which is one of the best barbecue joints in town.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, you're right there by Johnny's.
Parking in that area
parking
can
is
be tough.
terrible, especially like at busy times like lunchtime, dinner time. I will say that I thought Urban Cookhouse did about as well as you could do in that space.
Right.
And now they've moved to another space like right around the corner, which has probably got better parking and it's a little bit less walkable maybe, but I'm sure they'll do fine in that space. But, for something like barbecue tends to be a little bit pricier than just your standard, like even like an urban, Urban Cookhouse kind of menu. It's like, it's just a $2 or $3 more than that, So I think of it as a little bit of nicer lunch. So, maybe it just people weren't going there for barbecue. Plus, there's so much barbecue in this town. It's hard to really compete with really, really. I mean, we've got really, really good barbecue.
We do, yeah. And if you're not standing out, then
yeah, exactly. If you're just one of the also rans, then people aren't going to come seek you out. And a lot of restaurants business is catering for a lot of these, especially locally owned restaurants. I think they do a lot of catering. And if you're thinking I'm going to cater barbecue, that's not going to be the place that's first on your list of like, oh yeah, I'm going to go call Mark's Joint. And like, I don't know. It's just like Jim and Nick's has a great catering business.
Rusty.
I mean,
even Rodney
I wasn't
Scott's
just trying to throw that out there, but I mean, Rodney Scott's, Jim and Nick's, even Full Moon, like all of those do a ton of catering business.
About this. Like, Rusty does a ton of catering.
He really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does.
I mean, like he does weddings, right?
He does weddings. Yeah. He did my wedding. It was. People still talk about the food at my wedding.
Wish I'd have known that. Wish I'd have known you then.
I know.
That'd have been great. Just for the fact that I wanted the barbecue. So.
Which, speaking of my wedding, it was 10 years ago in a week. So next week will be my 10th anniversary. So if my wife listened, I would tell her happy anniversary, but she's not listening.
No.
So
all right. So mine and Laura's is this coming Saturday. So I can't let that one go now that you've brought it up.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
How many years?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
Mine was back in July, guys. I'm sorry.
Sorry we missed it.
Yeah. So it's 6 years. So yeah.
Awesome.
I know. Great stuff.
All right. So on to better news. New things opening up.
Yeah.
Right. We've got Yellowhammer is opening up a new store in Pepper Place.
Yeah,
right
so
here.
Yellowhammer Creative, which everybody knows for it's nice to have you in Birmingham T-shirts. They also do those posters, and they have a store located in the Pizzitz Food Hall.
Right.
They are very, very popular, and they do a lot of other creative designing stuff. So they are finally going to open up a bigger store. It's going to be right next to Farm Stand, which we actually had their owner on. If you could check that out in the archives during our bonus
the Pepper
episode.
Place episode.
Right. So that's really, really good. I'm happy for them. They do a really good job because a lot of their stuff is focused on Alabama and Birmingham, and
it's very local,
very local oriented company.
And they just make really cool stuff, in my opinion. Like it's not just like you go to these other cities and you get these just sort of like cheesy, like company branded marketing type things. Like you go to Nashville and you get some Nashville shirts, but like to me these are like really cool, specifically themed shirts for Birmingham, and I love that.
The artwork's cool. Of course, you're going to see the slogan. It's nice to have Birmingham on several things, but there's several nice, unique pieces of artwork on the shirts, and then they've got decorative stuff too, which is really cool. And it's not just like I love New York or Nashville.
Right.
I mean, it's cool, unique items.
Yeah, and they're going to start doing collegiate merchandise as well. So Alabama, UAB, Auburn will all be available at their new store, which is going to be opening sometime in the fall. So here in the next, I try to get some clarification when they're going to open. I haven't heard back yet, so as soon as I do hear something, we'll let everybody know. So this will be good stuff. I'm really happy about it. Another cool thing that's happening, speaking of retail, and Patrick, you said you had saw this, correct?
I did see this briefly. I didn't dig too deeply into it, but it sounded pretty neat. So
Rev Birmingham, and we actually have had David Fleming on. It was actually our second show, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. So check that out in the archives. It was a really good episode. Rev Birmingham is trying to promote the retail industry in the downtown Birmingham area. So one of the things they're going to do is coming up is they're going to take a lot of these old containers that people have turned into like small shops, and they're going to put them in a parking lot near the Pizzitz and have local retailers fill those containers, and they're going to put entertainment around it and do it all throughout the fall. They don't have a schedule yet, but this is just a really cool idea for downtown Birmingham.
Yeah, I mean, they're calling it kind of like a mini retail district. So they're sort of opening up. It's like basically a bunch of pop-ups in one spot.
Right.
Which I think is a really cool concept. I assume they're going to be mostly local businesses that are going to pop in there. It's cool because, I think people will be downtown. You're going to McWayne, you're going to Pizzitz, you're going to those things in that area, the theaters. So this would be a cool place to just stop in, check out what's around. Maybe some of these stores that are sort of more spread out around the city, having a higher concentration in that one space, you can go check them all out at once and find some really cool stuff.
And it's going to be a night and weekend type of deal. It's going to run from September 29th to December 14th. The parking lot is on the corner of 2nd Avenue North and 19th Street, which is right across from the Pizzitz and the McWayne Center. So they're going to take these containers, they're going to put folks in them, they're going to have hammocks, they're going to have bistro sets and rockers on the sidewalk so people can really enjoy themselves.
So really, they want people to come hang out.
Absolutely.
Are they going to serve drinks?
No, that would be a cool idea.
It seems like a no-brainer to me. It's like...
It's really cool. David Fleming did a post on the Rev Birmingham site, and one of the things he talks about is, like he says, lively retail districts have tangible effects on a city, and he goes through several items, and he says, retail encourages walkability, and people don't want to walk past vacant storefronts; they want to walk past like a filled-in, location. He said a filled-in fabric communicates that a district is established and safe and treasured, and that resonates with me. Like, you want to feel like this is a good location, and you see people shopping there, and I want to go hang out in that store and see what's up.
Well, and I think the more people that are in a downtown area, the safer it is. And I think that's
true.
Just a basic fact. But I also think that if you look at the spaces in Birmingham where there can be retail, the infrastructure is there, the buildings are there. It just needs to be renovated. We don't need to be building new buildings to put retail in when we have all these beautiful old buildings with plenty of space.
Great storefronts.
And buildings are not terribly expensive, especially with the tax rebate or tax credit that you can get with some of these historic buildings.
Yeah, and I know some of those are conditional on having like affordable housing or affordable
True. Yeah,
rent.
absolutely.
But a lot of times they're taking the upstairs sort of upper floors
And
and turning those into lofts or apartments, and then the downstairs floors are strictly retail, which I love. I love that sort of mixed use kind of space. I think it's a really awesome concept. I mean, who doesn't want to live above like a Chipotle or something? Like I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I do not want to live above Chipotle.
Yeah,
because I'll be as large as a house.
Yeah, you'd be there all the time.
What the hell are you trying to say, man?
I would be there all the time. Is really what I meant to say. But I think have you guys ever been to Houston? I don't know if it's still this way.
I have.
Driven through once.
But I've been there a couple of times, and it seemed that way to me, where like you kind of had things very spread out. Like you had like a store here, and then you'd walk halfway down the block, and there's like 3 empty spaces, and then you get to like another store, and people who, I'm sure all of our listeners who are from Houston will write me hate mail, but I thought it was really confusing. Like it was not cohesive, and it was very spread out. So I think Birmingham suffers from that a little bit. We've gotten much, much better. Like 2nd Avenue is great now. You can walk down, and you've got space after space after space was filled and active and vibrant. The more that we can do that, I think the better. And I think this will bring some of these businesses that think maybe have not thought of being downtown as a second location or even as a primary location. It will give them an opportunity to sort of test out the market, see how people do in this environment. Like, how are their sales downtown, and that's the other thing I've never understood is a lot of these places close at 5:00, and you really don't get that nightlife kind of, I don't know,
Pop of business.
that little uptick in business where people are coming down to 2nd Avenue at night to go eat, but all your retail's closed. It seems to me like maybe somebody would go, hey, people are coming down to these restaurants, maybe they pop into our retail establishment at the same time. So it'd be cool to see how that plays out and how people do at night, on the weekends, downtown. I'm looking forward to it. I want to go check it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's continue our conversation about the Birmingham Stadium.
So
We talked about this on the last episode. Just check out in the archives. There were some people talk about how low the press box was, and there wasn't enough seating on the home side, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
So I'm gonna actually play devil's advocate a little bit.
Oh God.
Okay, not too much because I totally disagree with this dude, but I think the point was about there was this discussion on seating and how to do bad math, but about there not being enough seats on whatever side or not enough rows or whatever. That to me really is not important. If you look at the stadium, it looks like a really cool design. It seems to make sense. The press boxes are at the top of one side, so I don't really see how you change that or make it better. Mm-hmm. What I will say is the thing that was mentioned at the city council meeting. I watched. I can't say his name, but I watched him present, and he talked about the lack of transparency as far as the final designs and what the final design is going to be and what are the seating numbers and
You're right,
disclosing that information. So I get that to some degree.
Did you have a say when they expanded Bryant-Denny?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And like that's my point. Like if you look at Bryant-Denny, not all the seats are 50-yard line seats. Like not all the seats are the best seats in the house.
What did you say? We should put all the seats on the 50-yard line.
Just put them all on the 50-yard line. 2 seats wide, 25,000 rows on each side. And we have a 100,000 seat stadium. With
None of the sun.
Call it the Saturn.
None of the sun. Put a shade over all of them. Yeah. No, I mean, you can't do that. But, if you look at the stadium design, of course, you're going to have a section on each sideline, essentially, that are the best seats. And then beyond that, you're going to have the upper decks, you're going to have the sideline, the end zones, and you're going to have the corners.
In all sports.
It's
there
like
are
that
good
in
seats and
every
there's
stadium.
not so good seats.
It's like that in literally you don't go to a concert and get the best seat, with everybody else. Somebody has a better seat. Like
yeah, absolutely. And they charge appropriately.
Exactly.
I mean, the 50-yard line tickets are going to cost more than the seat in the upper deck in the corner. I get that.
But having said that, Mark Ingram, who is the athletic director at UAB, has said that they have some of those affordable ticket packages in the country.
They do.
They're going to continue to do that even when they're in a new stadium.
So I don't think it's a good argument for affordability. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I would say without the corporate boxes, you're not going to have a stadium because those are primarily how that stadium is going to be funded.
Yes.
It is a private. It's not a private. It's the BJCC, which is partnership, I think, between the city and the county. And it's not. I mean, they're trying to make money. They're not trying to give away UAB. It's not a stadium for UAB.
They're just leasing the
They will
stadium.
be leasing it for their football team, but it's not just for that purpose. I'm actually hoping that the Legion can move into that stadium because I think that would be pretty awesome.
That would be great.
And I actually secretly am hoping that they'll move up to the MLS at some point, and
That
then
would
it'll be
also
an
be
MLS
great.
stadium, which would be fantastic.
It's built perfectly for it, too.
And it is. It really does lay out well for that. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people talking without a lot of information. And I think it's fair that, yes, maybe they should have more information. But if we don't have the design review committee, there was all this talk about how it was coming up for final review at the design review committee. Well, it was the final review of the exterior materials. Like, I don't think it was
what the sidewalk is made up and what the outside
yeah,
of
with
the
the
stadium's
side,
made of.
like the cladding on the building and things like that. It's not like the final thing. I think they've said that this is going to be presented to the public in due time. September 18th at the BJCC board meeting, they will talk about the final design. So, I mean, this is more like the stadium lighting and the signage. And
But I will say this, the outside, what they have designed, it's going to have, and they've said this in the story on AL.com, which we will tag in our show notes, it's going to have more of a park-like feel when you're not in the stadium, which I am excited about because outside of a lot of stadiums, you're outside of a stadium. Now, there is some concerns. There's not a lot of room for tailgating. I understand that. But I think it's kind of, can you do a lot of tailgating in an urban area? I mean, I don't know, if you look at University of Texas Stadium, it's in the middle of Austin. I don't know how much tailgating they do over there. So
I mean, you
I'm
almost
sure
have
they
to take
do.
like a parking lot, kind of like Uptown's parking lot
Right.
or BJCC's, and use that for tailgating at a certain point.
Well, and I think they're talking about building a parking deck next to the stadium where some of those lots exist today. I don't know if there's actually a parking lot there, if it's just an empty spot, but, it's hard to tailgate in a parking deck. I get that.
Sure. Yeah.
But, that's not the only thing about football.
No.
It is important, though. I do get the argument for that.
Yeah. The exterior of the stadium is set to look and feel like a park on non-game days. Will feature a large area suitable for lounging or picnicking, but not large enough for tailgating. The entire footprint of the stadium will be aligned with trees and other landscaping to create shade. And that was the concern, is there's not much tailgating. That's the only one. But then there were those at this meeting who mentioned the lack of tailgating space, which, I mean, that's a minor. I mean, look, I think that's minor. And then the press box seemed to sit a little bit lower than other stadiums of similar capacities. And, of course, they said that if you had to redesign the press box, it just wouldn't be financially feasible to do.
Here's the thing.
Well, you'd have to redesign the whole stadium.
Right.
Yeah. All this kind of, to me, feels like we have finally, we're getting a stadium. Like, it's finally happening. It's been my whole life a stadium's been talked about. It's finally happening. Now that people are comfortable with that idea, it's time to start picking apart every little idea and make a fuss about every little thing. And some of that stuff might hold merit, but a lot of it's going to be silly. Like, or we can sit here and talk about it and make jokes about it. Like, it's just...
Well, I think one of the interesting things, like when they built Regents Field, that was not universally popular. There were a lot of naysayers going, nobody's going to go downtown, nobody's going to show up, and like they've set attendance records every year since they've been down there. But also, I mean, that stadium, one of the sort of later things was they actually changed the position of the field so that it wasn't pointing, like the outfield wasn't pointing as much towards the downtown skyline, and it was more pointed away, which is actually pointed towards Children's Hospital.
Right.
I don't remember the exact reasons for those decisions, but like if we had crowdsourced it, I guarantee you everybody would have been like, oh no, it needs to face that way.
No, yeah.
Versus the other way. It's like you can't crowdsource a stadium design. Like I get people should have their input. That should be taken into consideration, but we're like pretty late in the game now. And maybe that's the point, that they haven't had a lot of input, but
Yeah, but I just think it's hard for, like, all right, we're going to build a stadium. So public,
yeah, tell us what you
how
want.
high do you want this press box to be?
Give me a wish list.
I mean,
What do you want? 35,000, 45,000, 55,000.
but no,
Press
we have
A.
seen preliminary designs for the stadium.
It looks awesome.
A year ago or more than that.
Yeah.
No one said anything about, and it looks the exact same. It's just more detailed now. No one said anything about a press box before.
The only time anybody said anything was when they actually put the wrong pictures.
I was just
And
thinking about that.
They had the stadium from like Colorado or
Yeah.
somewhere, Colorado State Stadium or something like that.
I remember like, man, that's a good looking
I
stadium.
was like, man, that stadium looks great. It's like, yeah, it's already been built, and it does look great. But it's the same company, I think. So
we did get a little bit more detail on the seating. Some will be seat back chairs. Some will be benches, which is like that at Bryant Denny. It's like that at Jordan Hare. So that's a normal thing. And then I'm just going to hit this one more time. The ones who are complaining about not having enough seating on the home side, UAB Athletic Director Mark Ingram said the concept of a home side stadium isn't used in the context of college football. Instead, it's more of a home field with certain seating sections designed for visiting fans. Duh.
yeah,
I'm sorry, not Mark Ingram, just for the people that are saying there's not enough on the home side.
Well, there's no home side, and like if you go to UAB games now, it feels like there's a home side because you have a 72,000 person stadium with the end zones roped off, and so you've only got one side or the other, and there's enough room on the home side to fit all of UAB's fans. So you end up with another side of the stadium that's got like 8 people, like half the games.
Right.
Except for Alabama State, they came out. So
And look, we're not discounting folks' concerns about the stadium, but I just think some of the arguments are you're just complaining to complain, right? I mean, I'm gonna get so much hate mail on this. Do you think?
I'm discounting some of the arguments against, like, some of this is silly.
Okay.
yeah,
I'm not the only one. Awesome.
I think we beat this horse to death.
A little bit.
Let's move
Yeah.
on.
Don't
You
worry.
know what I'm going to do, though? I'm going to go post on I Believe in Birmingham and make it a point to call people out.
Are you gonna like link this show to on I Believe in Birmingham?
I might throw a link to the show.
Say, hey, I was
should.
listening to a local podcast, and they were talking about this.
Yeah.
Well, our numbers have spiked this week.
Why do I use my real name on this thing?
Well, that's all I've got. Y'all got anything else?
No, that's it. Yeah, so
That's all.
That was a good episode. I've enjoyed that. Well, thank you for joining us for this edition of the Red Mountain Express. Remember, you can find us on our website at redmountainexpress.com, or you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Remember to go to our website, leave us some comments, and we'll have show notes for links to the stories that we have featured. For Patrick Tucker and Matthew Joyner and good old J.D. Baker, who will join us again one day.
One day.
I'm Blake Westbrook. We'll see you next week.